Hello everyone, welcome to our lesson of today. It is called Cut Me a Fair Share, going over fractions in geometry for the first grade. I am so glad you all got to join me today, and I'm so excited for us to learn about some fractions, which are super fun. So already we went over Fractions Are for Sharing, the book by Baby Professor, that showed great pictures of what fractions look like. And this is one of the materials that you are going to need for this lesson. This little picture here goes over different shaded parts, and we talked about those while reading, and we asked a couple questions. If you are new here, I want you to think about some questions. 1, what are fractions? 2, do fractions make it easier to share? And 3, what makes up a fraction? For this activity, you're going to need a couple different materials. First off, you're going to need some shapes. I chose here to do a smaller rectangle, a triangle, and a larger rectangle. That's going to be very important for our lesson later. You're going to need some scissors to cut those out with, a pen or pencil, a piece of blank paper that you are going to write on for our final assessment, some Play-Doh, any color Play-Doh you want, and then finally a sweet treat. I pulled out a couple here. I have a brownie that is in a nice square. I have a cookie that is nice and round. And then finally, I have a knife that I'm going to use, a butter knife. Make sure that you have your parents' permission when using these objects at home. As well as if you'd like to use a square cookie cutter, feel free to do so. I also have a couple other things that you could use around your house. It's getting closer to the Halloween time, so you could be using some candy. A Reese's is a nice circle shape that you could use for the end part. So you need to make sure you have some sort of treat that you're going to choose to share with somebody around you. To get started, we are going to, one second. Make our shapes. So what you need to do first is grab a piece of paper, and we're going to draw out some shapes the best to our ability. I want you all to let's do a triangle like we did. So you're going to go on your paper and make a triangle. We are kind of familiar with what a triangle looks like. We're going to try to get the shapes the best way possible. And let's go ahead, anywhere on your paper, make a square. Remember, squares have kind of even size. Want to make sure we get that as much as a square as we can. And then finally, a rectangle. Go ahead and pause the video for a second while you make those shapes. And when we resume, we will move on. Perfect job, everyone. So we have our shapes now. We are going to go practice folding and marking how to break these into fractions. So we learned earlier that fractions are broken up into parts, meaning that you are able to have equal parts of the whole entire fraction. I'm going to start first with our triangle. Since our triangle looks like this, I'm going to go ahead and fold it right at the tip and try to get as close as we can to being even. So I have 2 parts now. That is the whole part of the fraction. I'm going to take my colored pencil. That's another material that you need. And I'm going to go ahead and highlight just one part of this fraction. Go ahead and do so as well on your own papers at home. Now you have one part of these colors. So out of the 2 parts, only one is colored. That means that 1/2 of this triangle is colored. The fraction colored of this triangle would be 1 out of 2. Awesome job. Now let's go ahead and take a moment and let's see if we can do our square on your own. So I want you, before we get together, again, just pause me and go ahead and work on that square one. Are you all ready to move on? Awesome. So I chose to do this the long ways. There are other ways that you can make this into a fraction, but I decided to split it 4 ways right here. Now they're kind of long. You could say they were hot dog folded. And I am going to now take and highlight 2 parts of this. So 2 out of the 4 blocks are colored now. That means that 2 out of 4 is that. So about half this whole entire picture is colored. So we once again have that fraction a half. Let's move on to something just a little bit more complex. So we have this one here. I'm going to go ahead and fold it in half. Follow along with me if you will at home. And then hot dog, let's go hamburger. Let's switch it up a little bit. So now we have 4 parts this way. I'm going to do something a little bit different, and I'm going to go ahead and color 3 of these. So 3 out of the 4 parts of the whole rectangle are colored. So I'm going to write it like this. 3 out of 4. If you remember from our picture earlier, we had a lot of these. Let's go ahead and take a peek and see if we can find something that's kind of similar that only has 3 parts colored. If you ended up saying, let's see here, number 10, you are correct. That also has 3 parts of it colored. Moving on now, after we practice that a few times, I want you all to go ahead and pause me if you want to make more shapes and do a little bit more shading like in the book. And we're going to ask a couple questions. When I ask these questions, I want you to go ahead and pause me and think a little bit and maybe respond to somebody next to you. If you're watching this with a friend or in your class, go ahead and do that. So, what are some ways that we can make some equal parts of what we just went over so far? What shape are the equal parts that we are making come out to be? So we had a square, triangle, and a rectangle. We had those 3, and we're about to do some fun things with some circles. Why would it be important to break things into smaller parts? Awesome job, class, on answering those. Now that we have that in our head and those have been answered, we're going to move on into the next part. If you're at home, this would be a great time for you to grab a friend to do this lesson. We are now going to roll our Play-Doh that we have. Play-Doh is such a fun thing. And we are going to squish it down and make a circle. If you can see on my thing, I now have a nice round circle. I'm going to put it down, take one of your 2 butter knives that you had or a cookie cutter type thing. And I'm going to go ahead and try to make, let's do 4 parts again out of this circle. So I'm going to cut it down here, cut it down the middle, and then I'm going to cut it one more time right in half again. So now I have 4 parts of this. So now I can take these parts that I made with the Play-Doh and I can go give them to 4 other people, or I'm going to go give one to my friend and I'm going to give them half of it to split it into 2 so we both have 2 parts. Really fun thing about Play-Doh is you can make this into just about everything. You can play for it with a little while and cut into more fractions. Let's see really quickly if we can make this into even more. So say we wanted to share it with 3 people. How could we all have equal parts? So let's squish it down again. Feel free to pause at any moment so you can do this at home. We're going to go down the middle again, over here again, and let's go diagonal. I don't know if you saw that cut that I made right there. We're going to go and go diagonal one more time. So we have even parts. Okay, so now pause me and let's count how many we have. Did you count 8? Because I counted 8. So instead of 3 people, let's go ahead and bring in a 4th person. There's 4 people who want to share this pizza with. So I think everyone will go, person 1 gets 2. Start with 2s. It looks like everyone got 2 pieces. If you got that correctly, Just like me, you are on the right track with these fractions. We want to make sure that everyone had equal parts. Now, if I just wanted 2 pieces of pizza myself, I would only take 2 slices. As you can see, we made a nice little slice. And then you can put it with, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces left. So you took 2 out of 6 pieces. So you took a third of the pizza away. An awesome job with that, everyone. Now, I want you all to grab an activity sheet. And you at home are going to make your own activity sheet. So what I did, I wrote fractions activity on the top. I had a square, triangle, and circle. Go ahead and pause me and write that on your paper really quickly. Once you have written that down, we will move on to our next one. We can get rid of this Play-Doh. We will not need it anymore. So we can just put a cap on that. And let's go ahead and pull our brownie. Now, if you have something sweet around you, this would be a great thing to share with your mom and dad or your classmate. If we were in class right now, we'd be doing this together in partners. But since we're unable to do that, I'm going to go ahead and cut this brownie to where me and 3 of my friends can have an equal part. So I'm going to cut down the middle. And since I cut this into 4 parts, I'm going to write on my activity page that my square I broke into 4. So your whole, I want you to write the word whole, is you have 4 parts of this. And you get 1. So you have 1/4 of this, and you want to share with 4 people. So your fraction, everyone's going to get a 1/4 of that. So I want you to write the number that everyone gets on the side right there and mark it over here, and take that lovely color pencil and go ahead and mark that in and write the fractions. What I did, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, and everyone gets 1 part. You can also do the same with your cookie. So my cookie's kind of deformed right there, but it'll do the same thing. Really important part about this activity is you do not want to mix up your cutters. So sorry about that. I got too excited about math. You don't want to mess up your 2 cutters. I'm using a clean one from the brownie and not my one from the Play-Doh. I do not recommend eating Play-Doh at home. So we're going to cut it down the middle. I'm going to try to share this with more people. Oh, maybe. Hopefully your, whatever you chose to cut open is a lot softer than mine. I'm going to cut it like I did that other time and try to get more pieces of this cookie even. And it's going to be best as you can get it, especially if you have a hard cookie like that one. So now I have, let's count it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You have 8 pieces of cookie. So I can either share it with 8 people, I can share it with 2 people, or even 4 people. Let's do that. Actually, I just want to share it with 8 people, I think. So I'm going to go to my paper. I'm going to mark off 8. So I'm going to do it just like I cut it. Go down, across, diagonal, diagonal. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I have 8 parts on my activity page now. So everyone's going to get 1 piece once again because I want to share with as much people as I possibly can. So out of 8 parts, each person gets 1. So we each get 1 little piece of our cookie. Now, the triangle is something I want you to try on your own after practicing with our sweet treats this way. And I want you all to go share that. You all did a phenomenal job. I hope that you enjoyed going over this activity with me. Now go share your brownies. Make sure you wash your hands after doing this activity and share with your friends. You all did an amazing job as scholars today. And now you can make fractions in whatever shape you can, or whatever shape you have in front of you. Awesome job, and we'll see you back soon.